All right, we're starting this bad boy off a second time. We just got interrupted with a yard guy, but he got paid. Uh, Episode 22, Saad, how you doing?
Doing good.
Been having a good week?
Yeah, life is good. I can't complain.
Yeah, I know we're getting ready for a class coming up here pretty soon with Travis Haley, and it's your birthday coming up, and that's all coinciding, kind of planned on the same weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And me and Saad are taking I think like a 6-day trip, maybe a 6-day trip, something like that, to Arizona, and we're gonna hang out and take a AK-47. I guess it's like a basics or.
Yeah, I don't know. It's an AK operator's course, so you can either bring the AK-47 or the AK-74, and he's gonna pass on some of his expertise, him and his team. Because Travis Haley, what's his company called?
Haley Strategic.
Yeah, Haley Strategic. And so they offer this training, and this is an AK specific course. And I'm interested in it because, one, like, the military trained me on the AR-15 platform, but everything I've learned on the AK platform, it's just been through friends and through trial and error and just sort of figuring it out. So to go with an expert who can really, train us on the ins and outs of the weapon, and it's a course that, we're going to shoot. It's 8 hours a day for 3 days, and we're going to shoot 1,500 rounds of ammunition through these rifles, each individual participant. So it's going to be some amazing training, and you're training with some of the best in the world. And I think it goes along with the themes that we talked about in earlier videos of where, like, training needs to be constant. Like, no matter how much you think you know, or in whatever the subject, you should keep getting updates, keep getting with people that know stuff, and to improve your skill set. Otherwise, you're staying stagnant, and there's technology advances, there's ins and outs of weapons that you just aren't aware of, and if you don't stay up with it, then you sort of get left in left. And I think that's one of the biggest problems in any profession is people don't keep up on their professional training. And if you want to be good at something, you need to train.
Yeah, I look forward to it because he's very efficient. Like, everything he does is like about economy of movement, and it's interesting to find out how far away you are from knowing how to, like, I don't do any specific way of changing out the mags, and I watched a little bit of the class online on YouTube, and it seems like it just dials you in to be more efficient with a gun that I would say I know how to use an AK pretty well.
Sure.
But then you learn from someone who's like a real expert, right. And what we think we know, I hope, is going to be out the window, and we just learn a whole bunch.
Right.
And and there's things to learn about it too. Like like, are you going with a red dot? Are you going with a scope? Are you going iron sights? And I think they make you reach out pretty far at some point. I think it's like a 300 or 400 yard shot at the end.
Yeah, like I was watching a video one time where him and Jim Fuller were talking about he gets everybody in the class to make an 800-yard shot, which is crazy because normally the effective range of an AK-47 is 300 yards or 300 meters or less. That's what the gun was designed for. But he's got it to where he can adjust the shot to where it can reach out at even greater ranges. So it's pretty exciting. And there's range shooting, which you can learn a lot, just going to your local range. But this class isn't range shooting. This is shooting in a tactical environment using tactical maneuvers. So it's using your AK in a combat type environment training, and that's very practical training.
Yeah, I think 99.9% of my training has been static, on a range, normal, shooting on steel, and then you rented a few bays, and this one or two times I did that with you, it was night and day. My ability to shoot probably went down 40%. My ability to hit on the move compared to sitting stationary, and especially compared to like sitting in a box where I got a table.
Sure.
Because I'm not used to standing with it.
Right.
So it's kind of crazy too, because it's a nerve-wracking thing for me with my right shoulder being so tore up with the seven tendons. But like you said, one of the guys teaching there has like no arm or no leg or something.
Yeah, he's missing 2 legs.
Missing 2 legs. So
yeah.
I think you're right on that. Like for me being nervous about something that's like rudimentary, they'll just make me switch arms or something, or
yeah, maybe you learn to shoot the other arm.
or something. However, right?
Yeah, sure.
But it's interesting to go. It's fun to plan it. It was acquiring everything has kind of been weird, especially recently with the ammo.
Sure.
We were practicing quite a bit, and now you can't really get it too often. You can. It's hit or miss sometimes. AK is a little better than AR.
Right.
But I think you're paying like $800 for 1,000 rounds of AR right now. I mean, it's insane.
A lot of price gouging. Yeah.
It's insane right now. So I think it's like a good and bad thing for us. Like it's a great time to go learn how to shoot the gun really well.
Sure.
And it's a horrible time to go through 2,000 rounds.
Right.
But, 2,000's not going to end me. I got a couple more in the back waiting, for emergency. And I'll start acquiring some more when we get back and try to get to the range as much as possible. But it's been horrible as far as shooting goes this year. I mean, it's just, to me, it's just awful. Like the only thing I can shoot regular is 12-gauge birdshot. Mm-hmm. And, that's not what we're used to playing with.
Yeah, it's hard to get ammo. I feel bad for the guys, who are out there running gun ranges because, people don't have ammo to go shoot. And if you ain't got ammo to go shoot, that's affecting their business, because they're not going to get the customers that they was getting,
I mean, it directly affected me. At the end of the month, I would typically get the year pass for half off.
Right, yeah.
At Thanksgiving, that's in 2 weeks. And Mary was telling me about it, and I was like, I'm going to pass this year.
Right.
And she's like, why are you passing? And I was like, I just can't, there's no ammo.
Right.
Like, how do I... Even if I just come, because we would go twice a week, it made sense. If I go once a month now, I can just pay.
Yeah.
It sucks, but that's really kind of what we're looking at, So, Saad, you got a Mac 90 off me for your first AK, and you shot that for well into a year, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of rounds through a used gun from the 80s. Uh-huh. And you fell in love with that, and then you got this new piece. What is this here?
So this one here it's the AK-74. So it's the nice thing about AKs is you're like, oh, when did they come up with the AK-47? Yeah, 1947. AK-74, 1974.
Not hard to figure out.
The same guy, Kalashnikov. They admired our smaller round that we were shooting, in Vietnam. We were shooting the 5.56, so the Soviets came up with the 5.45 by 3.9, which this rifle here shoots. So it's a smaller, flatter round, with a comparable range of what you would have with the AR-15. So, we can make, an effective range of 500 yards or more with this rifle. So, I have my scope on it. It's significantly different than the AR, but I like the AK platform. I like how comfortable it is, how easy it is to disassemble and reassemble, and how it just spits out rounds. I think, if you're talking about a combat rifle, I just think, the Russians got it right, with the Kalashnikov models. Like,
yeah,
for a soldier in the field, you just don't want to be out there cleaning your darn weapon all the time to ensure it functions. Where these rifles, I'll go through 1,000 rounds or more, and between cleanings, like I don't clean it every time.
We shot that Mac, I think, for 4 months.
Right.
And you never cleaned it. And then I go, how many times you cleaned it?
Yeah.
And you're like, well, I haven't cleaned it yet.
Yeah.
And I go, what do you mean?
Right.
So I mean, it was at least 4,000 or 5,000 rounds.
Sure.
I would say easily.
I think like Americans, we have a different perspective on gun cleaning and maintenance than the rest of the world does, and you wouldn't know it if you weren't in the military and you didn't deploy with foreign militaries. Like Americans will be debating in depth whether to use Hoppies gun cleaning or rim oil, frog lube, or shooter lube, or ballistol or CLP.
Yeah.
And I'd be deploying with foreign countries, and their militaries would be out there cleaning their guns with diesel and lubing it with motor oil. It's like, they're not having a debate on, you know, what's the best cleaner. It's like, yeah, they just clean it and they lube it in. It's like it goes. And these will just spit out round after round after round, you know, with little to no maintenance. And you can just, you know, because the last thing you want to do is just be cleaning your gun every day.
And it's weird. See, Saad likes the 5.45, and I had never shot one before,
Right.
and I'm strictly like 7.62
Yeah.
because it's a 30-round caliber and it
Right.
hits so hard.
Yeah.
And you know, 300 yards in, you can hit with that gun if you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And to me, I don't have any place I can shoot further than that.
Right.
Ever.
Right.
Like most of the time, I'm
Yeah.
shooting at 50 feet if I'm not at Lone Star. So.
Yeah.
To me, if you're going to be shooting something up closer, like 300 yards, and it hits heavier, and it goes through walls better, and it goes through cars better, and I like the way the banana clip looks, and I'm just 7.62 centric.
Right.
So for me, Saad likes the 5.45. All my guns, all my long guns are AKs. I have a 12 gauge, a 9mm, a 7.62 by 3.9, and a 308.
Yeah.
So the 4 rounds I have are all AK specific, and you have your 2 rounds going now, and you really like the 5.45 compared, don't you?
Yeah. Oh, I have a blast shooting it, and it's an excellent round, and you know, like in my mind, like if I'm doing close quarter battle, you know, urban warfare, I want the 7.62 by 3.9 for sure, but you know, like if I'm in a more open environment where I'm taking longer, I need to take longer shots, then the 5.4 by 3.9 is a phenomenal weapon. You know, it's just it's a really nice light shooting gun, very similar, you know, to the AR-15.
Yeah, that's what I noticed is the
Sure.
very little recoil.
Right. Yeah,
very little recoil.
and you know, so if it was an urban warfare situation, I'm grabbing the AK-47 and we're going. You know, it's like, but you know, for a longer range shot, the AK-74 is phenomenal. Not to say that the AK-74 is not good for close quarter battle, because it definitely is. Just like, you know, the AR-15, which is just a civilian equivalent of the original M16, or now we call it the M4 rifle in the military. It's just a smaller round, very effective. And anytime like you see situations where, like, you know, maybe about a year and a half ago, there was 3 home invaders in a home in Oklahoma, and the guy with the AR-15 killed all 3 of them. And then another 3 were right outside of Atlanta, and they all had pistols. And the homeowner had an AR-15, killed all 3 of them. You know, like, I don't even think the homeowner got hit. You know, it's just a guy with a rifle is going to kill a guy with a pistol. Because, you know, like, it's funny, like, sometimes I hear people going in these long, elaborate debates on, you know, the best pistol to get, you know, for so-called, you know, when crap hits the fan. And it's like, dude, when crap hits the fan, you know, like, the last thing I'm going to grab is a pistol.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like,
no way.
Like, if you look at it from a military perspective, the way the U.S. military operates is we consider the pistol to just be a defensive weapon. You know, the rifle is an offensive weapon, and a guy with a rifle is gonna beat a guy with a pistol. You know, 9 times out of 10. It's such a dominant weapon. You know, like, you look at effective range of, say, an AR-15. You know, let's say we're talking about 500 yards, and we get our Marines to qualify at 500 yards. And you look at, you know, a good shot with a pistol. Maybe he's hitting targets at 100 yards.
Maybe.
But
that's a real good shot.
That a good shot with an AR-15 hitting at 500, and a good shot with a pistol hitting at 100. That means the guy with a pistol needs to cross 4 football fields before he's in shooting range of the guy with the rifle. Where the guy with the rifle, as you're crossing them 4 football fields, you're in his range the whole time. You know, it's such a decisive weapon. And plus, you'll see guys who can get hit with a pistol round and they're still standing.
Sure.
You get hit with a AR-15 round or an AK-47 round, and it's going to take you off your feet. You know, it's the shock of the round is just devastating. You know, it's coming at such incredible speed, and the impact, even though like a AR-15, right? You're talking about like it's basically a 22 caliber bullet, so it's like a little bitty bullet, but when it hits you, oh, it's moving.
Yeah,
And,
there's a lot of like pressure wave
right.
Coming out with it, and the 5.45 round is what the Russian military uses to this day.
Yes.
They switched over for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, I've heard the argument that it's about how light the round is, so they can carry a lot more rounds,
Right.
they can carry a lot more magazines,
Sure.
and it shoots flatter. It's easier to shoot, less recoil, less problems, and I know that the AR-15 round is designed to maim somebody.
Yeah.
So it takes a couple people to get them off the field, which makes sense. And there's all kinds of arguments of why that works, and obviously they're better than a pistol.
Sure.
But to me, if I was grabbing anything, like the thing that's next to my bed is a 12 gauge shotgun. So a 12 gauge is like 8 rounds of 45 coming at the same time.
But a shotgun is wonderful for home defense. But once you step outside the home, on a battlefield, a shotgun is absolutely useless.
But I'm talking about for home defense.
That's
like next to my
just
bed.
home defense. Yeah.
Everything
Shotgun's
is to
great.
get. Everything is to get to me. Everything.
Right.
If I have to go further than a shotgun, is to get to this room and then make decisions. Because this is where you come in and then you got everything. So yeah, I have a shotgun to get to a room. I have a pistol to get to a room. Make sense?
Sure.
And then you sit back and you get ready for the heat. I mean, but these are all scenarios that you play out in your mind. Really, when I started collecting AKs, my first one was a Russian Vepr, just like yours is. And I think I paid $560 for it in '95, and everyone thought I was crazy because you could pick up an AK for $250. So I spent twice the money. I sold that gun like 10 years ago for like $1,100 or $1,200. So the market on certain AKs go up. So the Russian ones are banned. They got banned in 2005, I believe. It might have been 2010. It was under Obama. They got certain sanctions. Certain companies couldn't bring in stuff no more. So the Russians have been off the market now for about 10 years, and the prices just keep going up and up and up. And you used to be able to get like the shotguns for $800-900, and now they're like $1,500, $1,200, and that's just in 2 years. I was talking about getting one last year, and you can buy certain variations of the guns that don't cost as much, and they work, like the Mahdi's and the Egyptians, and like the Polish are really good, but the Russians are the cream of the crop. And I'm not sure if it's because of how they build them, or what they build them out of, or if it's the original specs and it's closer to the homeland. But the Russians really, it might be that factory, they make a really superior product to about anything I would say that is like a regular buy. Like if you can get a Russian, you would take that over any gun, I would say. And that's a common thought. I would say you would take Russian over East German, Russian over anything.
Because the inventor of the AK-47, Kalashnikov, was working in the Sega factory. So it's like, if you can buy it, is somebody making a clone of the AK better than the guy that invented the AK? And I would say, no, I would go with the Russian over, anybody else. Not to say that, they don't make good ones in Poland or Bulgaria or...
But I think for Saad, I say the same thing on a commercial basis. But if I was going to get like the best, I think the best are built by individual people, and it doesn't necessarily matter what the kit is sometimes. Because I've seen, and I keep up on the custom market, and you know that.
Sure.
I've built a few guns myself. I've bought them like a NPAP or a WASP or the Mac 90, and then I modernize them. And that's just adding parts. That's not really building it, right? So the Mac 90 you have that shoots so good was basically a raw gun that wasn't shot from 94, I believe. It's a 94, I think. And I modernized it. In the first few rounds I put through it, didn't even really shoot reliably. And then I cleaned it and lubed it, and it's never hicked up since. And you're talking about a gun that I think had 0 rounds on it when we started shooting. I think it was clean.
And then it's just a philosophy of changing. Like, Stomp and I have different philosophies on how our guns are. Like my AK-74 here is stock from the Russian factory. It's exactly the way the Russians made it. I didn't change out the barrel, the trigger, nothing. You know, where each one of these rifles, you know, they may have started on a base with the receiver of either East Germany or from Romania or you know, whatever country of origin, and then now it's maybe an American trigger. It could be an American, you know, rifle, you know, barrel, or, you know, and then, you know, you start changing the internals, and you know, like there's guys like, you know, we talked about Chase and Krebs and Meridian and Jim Fuller, who can make it even better. But my preference is just, I like it. I like my weapon stock from the factory, the exact way they made it, you know, and
yeah, he likes historical historical accuracy in his guns, and I go the total opposite way.
Sure.
And I've been collecting those four makers.
Right.
I don't have a Fuller yet because he switched out his company from Rifle Dynamics. He sold about 5 years ago, and he's coming out with a new product. But Jim Fuller is the most popular AK maker that's outside of Russia,
Sure.
and that we know about regular.
Yeah.
And he's not the oldest. The oldest is Krebs, but we'll talk about Mark in a minute.
Yeah.
We're talking about Jim right now. Jim made a fighting rifle. Jim came out with a whole new design of an AK, and he used a gas block from the 74 and brought it onto the 7.62. And that gas block incorporated the front sight. Does yours have the front sight incorporated? It doesn't.
No.
So Jim had some parts put together or sourced some parts, and then he took the front end of the gun and chopped it by 2 or 3 inches and pinned and welded a brake. And you know, this company, Rifle Dynamics, took off on the custom rifle world. Yeah. It started it. It's the pinnacle. When he sold it, they were still the #1. And I just won't get one because I know Jim opened a new company, and he just hasn't had no new guns out yet because of COVID, called Fuller Phoenix. So Jim's known for that light end, what they call a gunfighter's gun. And I never understood what that meant because I've always held a regular AK, and I've had a few custom AKs that are very, very nice pieces. And then I got a Meridian Defense, and Meridian Defense sort of like took Jim Fuller's idea that he started making like 25 years ago, and made their version of it with a Wasser, mixing it with a Bulgarian folder, and that's called the Lust. And I waited a year to get this gun, and I just got it this week. And wow, the difference in weight is insane. So this is like a typical looking AK, and if you notice the front end here, it's extended out with a brake on the end, and this is just a 16-inch barrel with a brake. And then this is the amended type gun, which is just a 16-inch barrel. So it's welded and pinned at 16 inches. And the gas block and the sight is one piece. This gun's phenomenally light in the front end. It's a whole pound lighter on the front end, and man, can you feel it. It feels significantly lighter. And it's a Frankenstein gun because it's a Wasser with let me see if I can remember how to open this. I just got this thing. No, not there. What do I do here? Oh, you gotta do it over here. Yeah. Totally opposite area. There's a latch over here I had to remember. So yeah, so this is like a Bulgarian folder. It's my first Bulgarian folder, obviously, on a Wasser. So real crazy concept right here, and you know, you just hit this button here to close it, and to open, and just really solid. I mean, just really light. It is the Warsaw length, so I'm gonna have to get used to shooting a little bit tighter. It's a little bit smaller, but man, the front end travels really quick. Front end's real fast on it. So this is a Meridian Defense, probably the hottest custom company in the United States right now. To me, there's no one putting out more. This was a year wait or 10-month wait. They said 8 weeks, but really the reality is with the COVID hit, it just got so far backed up. And 2 months of it was wasted on me because I changed orders. I went from the Pestilence to this. They leaked a picture of this, and I was like, oh my God, I gotta have it. Yeah. So a gun like this is like $2,200. A Wasser is normally like $900. So then you add on like the $300 at the back, the $100 for the brake, the $100 for this. $100 for the trigger. And that's the add-ons, and then you put the time in of chopping the barrel, building the gun, tuning the gun so it can shoot suppressed, which this gun's tuned for suppression, and then you understand why you're paying more than $900.
Yeah.
So when you think it's expensive, but in the end, I promise you right now, unshot, I could probably list this and sell it for way more than I got into it. But I'm never doing it. It would be a straw buy. And I'm taking this bad boy right to class, and I'm going to keep it forever. And I named it Felony after my fastest, baddest dog I ever had. My Rottweiler that I had for like 16 years, and I named her Felony. And the origins of the story, I got ripped off for the one gun, and I figured Felony was kind of an appropriate name for a rifle that I got into by getting conned out of some money on a different rifle deal. But you see the finish job on it, it's just ridiculous. They make it look like it's been the war, even though it hasn't. So this is my newest acquisition. I'm super, super excited to shoot this and take this to the Travis Haley class. But I wanted to show you the other guys too. This is a maker named Chase Siskold from Definitive Arms, and most people have no idea who this kid is. And he's in his mid-20s, and ever since he's been 19 or 20 years old, he's been building, I call, the best AKs in the world. This is the most accurate AK I've ever seen. Clay Owens from Clayco, he's another big AK channel online. He told me the same thing about his Wasser made by them. So you have a couple different guys shooting a couple different make guns from one maker, and all of those guns from an East German build. This is an East German gun he did that I added on the Ultimac, the rail, the brake, the rear end. I added all that on. I believe this gun was like 1600 plain, and then I had to add everything.
Right.
So it's into the mid 2000s, I would guess. And what I had into this, the rear end here was a couple $100 by itself. The front is $102. So you end up adding like $400, $500, $600, $700 onto a gun to get it where you want it. Which is interesting because you can buy it like that, a plain AK, and then do what you want to it and trick it out. Or you can leave it like Saad would have, and it would have just been an East German AK built by Chase. Yeah. So Saad would have left this totally stock and appreciated it. And Saad has and knows about guns like this. This is a AC-18 from Krebs. And Krebs is totally proprietary. Yeah. Everything on this gun is built by Mark Krebs. The folding mech, the AR-15 style sights are added onto the gun. His gas block incorporates the front sight too. The front brake I did add on. This is like $150 titanium muzzle brake that just makes it shoot so flat. This gun shoots like a 22. This gun has zero kick. It's designed for an AR for a suppressor too, and they even add like really cool like aftermarket stuff like this where the old sight block would have went, so now you can add your Trijicon right here instead of here, and they just have a lot of options. And Mark made the Krebs safety right here, which makes it really easy to engage your safety compared to a typical AK safety. And these are all parts that he's designed, and he started making AKs in '84. Wow. So he's the oldest. Sure. And the best deal. This is at like $2,000 by itself. And it's got the folding stock on it and everything. So it's just got a lot of options too. I think Krebs has the best bargain when you're talking about, because if you want to modernize it, it comes totally modernized. Yeah. So if you want to buy a modern gun, I mean, this comes with the mag pull. This comes with everything. And totally set up. You don't have to touch it. Only thing I added onto this gun was this part, the brake, the charging handle to make that more comfortable, and the sight, and that's it. In most guns, you have to add a lot of stuff to if you're trying to build them out the way I like them, and you get caught into a vortex, so sometimes you're not going to get those parts back. You're not going to get the add-ons back on the build. Sometimes you do and sometimes you don't. Depends on how far you go with it. Like sometimes you do a mag pull build, you can get that back because it's like $30-$40 a part instead of like $300. So someone might not want to pay the $300 this rail costs, because this rail does cost $300 if you wanted to buy it separate. So these makers are all building high-end AKs for prices that are extremely reasonable in my mind, especially when you start adding up the fact that they're hand built and how they shoot. Now, do these shoot much better than, say, my NPAP or your Russian or your Mac 90? Your Mac 90 shoots really good because it has a trigger.
Yeah.
No. It does have the original trigger.
Yeah. I mean, but you know, like the thing with the Mac 90 is, you know, the China imported it from the Norinco factory, and Norinco is who makes their weapons. And you know, despite like there being like, you know, bias towards foreign products, like the Chinese make very good products. You're like, yeah, like you'll get cheap stuff at Walmart because it's designed to be inexpensive. So, but when it comes to quality, like China can make some amazing quality, and their rifles, you know, like you see the Mac 90 here in the United States, or the predecessor, the Spiker, what was it called? But they make excellent weapons, you know. So it's like you're not, if you don't get a Russian AK, a Chinese AK is right there with them.
Oh yeah, they really are.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, I think sometimes they might be a little better made in some ways, like
Sure.
like the Chinese version of the shotgun, the Lynx 12.
Right.
You can still buy,
Yeah.
because it's a smooth bore, so you can get imports of that from China, but you can't buy no rifles from China now.
Right.
They're banned. But you can get the smooth bore, I think, for $550. You can buy a Russian design that has a bolt hold open. So now it's designed better.
Yeah.
So they take what the gun needs to add, and the Chinese ain't got no problem just adding it.
Right. Yeah.
So it's weird. Sometimes the Chinese can make an AK run better than the Russians.
Sure. Yeah.
So
No doubt.
your Mac 90 shocked me. You wanted. He wasn't shooting any AKs when we met. He put a couple rounds on from my NPAP on some steel, and that was it. You were hooked. And then I got the Mac, and then you watched me tuning it, and it wasn't running, and then it was running, and then we cleaned it the one time, and I think I only shot like 5 mags, and you bought it off me.
Right.
I think I had like one visit. I had like made it, cleaned it up, made sure it was firing, got 5 mags through it, and you bought it. And I swear, when I went to go clean guns with Saad, he said he hadn't cleaned it at all, and I think it was like 3 months.
Yeah.
And you were shooting twice a week. I mean, 1,000 rounds a month easy, so it had to be 3,000 rounds. I'm guessing. At the time, we were going through 1,000 rounds a month.
Yeah.
So you were doing it all in one gun. I was doing it on 4 guns.
Sure.
Or 3. So, and that's a gun from 1994 that had never been shot, maintained. It was stored right, obviously.
Yeah.
It was stored well.
And the nice thing is all the internals are all Chinese, you know, from the Norinco factory. There's no American modifications. The only modifications we did on the
Furniture.
was the furniture, yeah. So it's an extended buttstock, you know.
Which actually was necessary because you couldn't even sight up on the old stocks.
Right.
The old,
Yeah.
Remember how we were trying to? The first mags we couldn't even sight in on.
Yeah.
So it's interesting when you start talking about AK theory and prices, because AR-15s used to be premium to AKs price-wise. Now the AKs have well taken over the AR-15 market. There is no AK that is cheap. There's no AK cheaper than an AR now. Even the Palmetto State ones that you can get for $600 are $200 more than their AR-15s.
Right.
The Palmetto State AR-15.
And the Palmetto State Armory, they're making it the AK 100% in country, where some of these other rifles are imported, or like, you know, the WAS are sometimes they're, you know, what they call battlefield pickups, where like they're chopped up, imported to the States, and then you get some gun maker like a Jim Fuller or Definitive Arms.
They put a no-DAC receiver.
Put it together. Yeah.
They put a new receiver on it and take the parts kits and build them out. And I know that people hesitate when they hear you spend $2,000 on a rifle, on an AK especially. But when I'm telling you, the market on all of these, I spent that Mac 90 was a $200 gun in the 90s. It was a $250 gun and 300 Max in the 90s. And now they're going for $1,200, $1,500, $1,600, and that's not converted. So the prices on everything is going up.
Sure.
It's really kind of a weird time as far as all that goes. I'm glad to have what I have. I think I might acquire a 4 one day, and then I'll have the top 4 builders that I know of.
Right.
And it's not really necessary, but man, I like shooting them all.
Yeah. You know, whatever your hobby is, you should just enjoy it. You know, like, it doesn't have to be practical. You know, it's like, this is what you enjoy doing. You know, whether it's a guy that likes to go boating on the weekends, you know, it's like, well, dang, dude, you got a $30,000 boat. Well, you know, he has a good time doing it. So, you know,
Yeah.
it's like, well,
Yeah, and if you look at it like that,
yeah,
like 30
sure.
grand for a boat, that's like 10, you know, brand new Russian guns.
Sure, we could come up with some awesome guns for
Yeah.
30,000. So
30,000
like, our
bucks.
hobby's not as expensive as the guy with the boat.
It's a really interesting way to think about
or
it.
the guy with the RV. You know, shoot, there's RVs out there selling for $100 grand. You know, like, holy crap, and he's traveling the country or, you know, whatever he does, and it's like, oh, well, that's your hobby. And
Money is in the eye of the beholder too.
Sure.
It's what you're comfortable with. We have so much joy at the range. We have so much fun talking about this that we're talking about it on a podcast, and no one's going to watch maybe, or very few people. And it's what we do. So when we're excited about something, we try to present it. And I'm super excited about this new one, and I'm really happy about going through the classes and figuring out what you're gonna shoot and how you're gonna run it. And we've also done quite a bit of talking and shooting back and forth with handguns over the years.
Yeah.
And the first time I met Saad, when I invited him to the range a few times, and we never got together. And then eventually he came, and he was shooting a really nice 586, right?
Yeah, 686. Smith & Wesson revolver.
Smith & Wesson 686, 6-shot, right? 7-shot?
Yeah.
7-shot.
686 plus.
The plus.
Yeah.
And Saad was shooting the piss out of this thing, and I would take a few rounds on it, and I would offer him a Glock 34 to shoot, and he would pass.
Yeah.
And
Man, I've always hated semi-automatics.
He would pass and
pistols.
He'd never shoot anything.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, Saad. I think we shot about 7-8 times before you said, "Hey, I'm thinking about renting a semi."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Well, I got a bunch of them. You know, let me bring some up here." And what made you think about getting a semi?
Me and my son, we went to the police range, and a guy was out there, and he had a CZ Shadow 2 Orange. I might be getting the title wrong.
The Orange Tactical, yeah.
And
it's the Orange.
we both shot,
not the Shadow.
me and my son, we both shot the CZ75 Orange, and it was such a smooth shooting gun. I was like, oh my gosh, I could own one of these. You know, like, because when I came in the Navy in 1986, we had a Colt 1911. That was our issued handgun. And then, you know, a few years later, we switched over to the Beretta 9mm. The Colt 1911 was shooting a 45 caliber ACP bullet. Then we switched to the 9mm made by Beretta. And I had a general dislike for both of those guns. You know, like, I meet people all the time, they're like, oh man, I love the 1911. And I'm like, I freaking hated that gun. And
it's really hard to take apart.
And then I'll meet somebody, you know, who's like, oh, I like the Beretta. And I'm like, yeah, I hated that gun too. You know, I went to a lot of wars wearing that on my hip. Hated it. So, you know, when whether me and Stomp talked or me and my son talked about, you know, getting a semi-automatic, because my son likes his semi-automatic pistols. I was like, oh, I hate those damn guns. You couldn't give me a semi-automatic.
Yeah, Saad's very old manish for only being 51.
Right. So I shot this CZ75 Orange, and I really liked it. And then
yeah, so Saad tells me he's gonna rent some guns, and I go, don't rent shit. I got a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Let me bring up some guns.
Right.
And I first hand him a Glock 34 with an Apex trigger. I think it has an RMR sight.
Yeah.
It has everything. It's right here.
Absolutely hated it. Yeah.
It's essentially this gun.
I was not a fan.
So this is the gun I give Saad to shoot, and this is sick. This
Yeah.
has a mag well, and Apex trigger, and you know, red dot, and you can't get no more options. Dawson precision high sights on it to go with the red dot, and Saad pulls the trigger once on it. He goes, "This is dog shit."
Yeah.
He goes, "This sucks." And I go, "What? Yeah, that's with an aftermarket trigger." He's like, "Yeah, everyone likes these Glocks. I don't understand this bullshit. Bullshit plastic gun. It's a sight. I don't like striker fire. I don't.
Right.
I don't like this." He's mumbling, right? I go, "Okay. Let me put this down." I go, "Well, you might like this one." And I hand him a CZ Shadow 2.
Yeah. That was amazing.
And Saad puts it in his hand and goes, "Now, what's this?" And I go, "Man, this is a CZ."
Yeah.
He goes, "You got something done to it?" I go, "No, man, this is stock."
Right. Yeah.
He goes, "Hold on. This is stock?" And I go, "Yeah." He goes, "What'd they run?" I go, "About 1,300. He goes, "Hold on, you get this for 13, but that's like 7. He goes, "That's garbage." He goes, "This is a deal, I think, compared to this.
Sure.
Like, this is a deal."
Oh yeah.
And Saad started shooting a gun, and I think you put like 6 or 7 mags through it. I mean, you just kept shooting the gun. And next week we go to the range, and Saad has a new gun. He has a CZ compact, right?
Yeah.
CZ,
Please check the public.
yeah, and Saad shot the piss out of that gun and my Shadow for a long time. Mm-hmm. And I got a deal. A friend of mine in St. Pete, John, I started showing him the Shadow, and I told him how sick it was. And I said, "You can't buy a better gun for the money." And he comes and he shows me a CZ A01 LD. Right. Yeah. That's a $2,500 hand-built one from the CZ Custom factory.
That's amazing.
So my friend tells me he does have a better one than the Shadow, and I don't think nothing of it. I mean, the Shadow's so sick, it doesn't matter. There's better guns, I'm sure. And then he calls me about 2 months later. And in the meantime, Saad's been shooting it every week. I've been shooting it. Saad's been shooting his. We're all shooting all the CZs. And he calls me and says he needs some money. He can't even sell this at a pawn shop for $1,200. Wow. And I go, "What?" He goes, "I can't even get $1,200 for this thing at a pawn shop." I go, "I'll give you $1,200 right now."
Right.
So I call Saad. I'm in the middle of becoming a student at Saad's school, which is how we met. I have a gun that he loves shooting every week, and he has a class that I love taking. At the time, I was taking it every day if I could. So I'm trying to get my neck broken and twisted up and learning. And Saad likes the gun, and we trade schooling for the gun. And Saad's like, "That's not the first time I've traded. I've done plumbing and all kinds of stuff for BJJ.
Trading services, business services,
Yeah, so Saad's stupid stoked. He goes home with a gun. I get the A01 LD in the mail. I'm shooting the finest thing CZ's ever even thought about making. Right. The truth is, though, the Shadow's more comfortable in hand.
I love the Shadow.
Oh, dude, it's such a sick gun. It doesn't shoot better than the A01, but it's more comfortable in hand. And Saad has what he likes now. I have what I like. And
never thought I'd own, one of these semi-automatics, and here I am. I've got a couple semi-automatics.
And so that's what's crazy. Yeah. In the end, I have 2 guns. Yeah. I only have 2. I have the 34 and the A01 LD. Yeah. And then Saad comes in last week and says, at the end of the podcast, we hang up, we stop it, and he goes, "Hey man, I got a new gun. Yeah. Guess what it is?" Right. And I think I guessed. What did I guess? A fucking revolver, an Airweight. I think it's like a Smith & Wesson Airweight. Yeah. I'm like, you got a Airweight revolver, right?
I love revolvers. Yeah.
Right. He goes, "Nah," and I go, "Glock 34," and then he laughs. Right. And he goes, "Nah." Right. He goes, "But." Yeah. Man, that my CZ. Now you tell us. You tell the rest.
So what happened is my CZ 75 Police Czech Republic it's a nice gun. It's a compact gun. I like full size guns, but it's a compact gun, and I can only really carry it in the winter, where I'm not printing, which is like concealed carry, but like you can see it. Like if I'm just wearing my shorts and a t-shirt, you're gonna see that I'm carrying this weapon, and I just don't like going out in public like that, where you can see that I'm concealed carry. I mean, in Texas, I have a license to carry. I can carry concealed or open. It's not a legal issue. It's really it's a tactical advantage issue. Like if I'm in a room with a bad guy, if he sees that I have a gun, then he automatically knows who the first person is he needs to shoot, which would be me. So it takes the advantage of having a concealed gun away from me by making it open. So I was looking for a pocket carry,
which is so crazy. If you knew this dude a year ago, he's showing up with like a 7-shot wheel gun, Clint Eastwood style.
Right. So I was thinking I'll
I'm
get
a
a
bad
38
influence.
special. You know, a small, lightweight 38 special.
Me too. That's
And
what I would have put you on.
I was at the gun shop, and I'm looking at these different ones, and you know, like the guy behind the counter is like, "Hey, but have you ever thought about this Sig Sauer 365 XL?" And I picked up the gun and I liked it. I stuck it in my pocket, and I was like, "Man, this could be perfect." But here's the thing with the Sig 365 XL. Is the Sig 365 is a striker fired gun, and when it first came out a couple years ago, it was having accidental discharges. You know, like he was dropping it and the gun was firing.
Yep.
Which is why I've always liked hammer fired guns, because if you drop a hammer fired gun, you're not getting an accidental discharge because that hammer has to come back and then close. Yes, I'm sure somebody's got a wonderful story out there where they dropped a hammer fired gun one time and somehow the bullet went off, but it's damn unlikely. You know, it's where a striker fired gun, I'm not as comfortable in the safety. And so Sig Sauer said, "Hey, you know, we fixed these problems." But in my mind, I'm like, I don't like the striker fired gun, and you already have a history now of this gun, this particular model, having the accidental discharges, and the last thing I want to do is shoot myself accidentally. Like, so I was like, I can't do it. And then the guy shows me the Glock 43X, and let me tell you the problems with the Glock 43X that I have. One, I don't like semi-automatic pistols. Two, I don't like striker-fired pistols. I prefer hammer-fired. Three, I absolutely detest plastic guns. I want a metal gun. You know,
that's that 50
and
51.
Yeah, and four, I do even worse. I detest subcompact guns. I'm looking for a pocket gun to put in my pocket, but I am not going to take a gun where I can't get all four of my fingers on the handle. And he's like, "Well, no, the 43X has got a same length handle as the Glock 19. It's just thin." I'm like, "What?" So this is the gun. So the 43X, as you can see, I can get all my fingers, so this pinky finger is not hanging off. You know, where a lot of the subcompacts, you're only getting two fingers, and then the pinky is hanging off, but then people are like, "Oh, you get an extended mag." It's like, well, why get an extended mag if I can have the whole handle? So when I saw that this gun could give me all my fingers on the gun and still stick it in my pocket, so you got hip to the sticky holster. So, because I don't want to just stick the gun in my pocket and then accidentally discharge it. So the sticky holster, instead of me sticking it in my waistband, I stick it straight in my pocket.
It's literally a pocket gun.
And, you know, like, this is my winter wear, you know, because it's getting a little bit colder. So I could have had my CZ PCR in my waistband. And, you know, with this shirt, you wouldn't see it. But here, you cannot see that I have a gun in my pocket. And I can just, I'll be in shorts, t-shirt. I can have this gun in my pocket. The sticky holster, the advantage is, I stick my hand in my pocket. Every time I come out, the holster stays in. So I'm not coming out with the holster. It's in my pocket. Everything's cool. I reach in. The gun is ready to go.
Yeah, it's cool.
So I'm sitting there and I'm like, and oh, last but not least, I have a thing against Glocks. This is my problem with Glocks. It's not that they're not great guns. They're very reliable. You know, arguably, they are the best semi-automatic handgun manufacturer in the world. You know, especially for combat or police purposes, military police purposes, it's hard to argue against the Glock. The problem I have with the Glocks, with the Glock company, is in the 80s when Glocks first came out, they came out with the Glock 17. The Glocks were like, sort of like the, you know, the bad guy's gun, or, you know, like Glock was in Die Hard, you know, the terrorist that came over from
porcelain gun.
What was it, Sweden or Germany or something? I forgot where Hans Gruber was from. But, you know, they'd come over to fight
The Die Hard
in
one.
the Die Hard
was
movie.
Part 2 wasn't with Hans. It was the other guy at the airport. That's when they got it to the airport.
Yeah, but that was in Die Hard 1.
No.
When they went through the airport.
Maybe
It shows them going through the airport because the belief was that these plastic guns wouldn't set off.
Yeah, I know he's made of porcelain.
And you know, of course,
They do have steel barrels. Yeah, they have steel barrels.
It was good for movies. So that used to be something that, you know, like you know, you would see in the movies, or like, you know, the guys, you know, the criminals would have. Where nowadays, like, there's a guy, you know, like, you know, to me it's like the yuppie gun. You know, the yuppies that want to pretend like they're tough guys. They're like, yeah, I got a Glock. Matter of fact, there's even a lawyer. He's got a gun channel. He ain't got no experience in the military, no experience on the opposite side of the law, no experience in police work. He's a lawyer, and yeah, he talks on his little gun channel about how sexy his Glock is. And I'm like, bro, if you're looking at your gun and you're getting aroused, you may need to go talk to somebody.
Wait,
I'm just saying,
it
like,
might not be an arousal thing as much as he likes how
well,
they added on.
he literally uses the word sexy,
Well,
and
yeah.
like, I only see sexy in one word. You know, like,
Well, people describe cars as sexy, and
Yeah.
some guns are sexy.
I don't get aroused off cars either.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, so
That's the old man in
that was my blocker on Glock. I'm like, this is the yuppie gun that for guys that
You
want
see,
to
I
pretend
had
to
the
be tough.
opposite introduction. My friend Ben Lofton from St. Pete High had one in '86. He
Right.
had the first year. His dad
Sure,
was a
Glock
sheriff.
17.
His dad was a sheriff.
Gen 1.
His
sure.
dad was a gun nut. Guns
Right.
everywhere. Ben was the first person that wasn't my uncle to
Right.
take me shooting.
Super reliable gun.
And we shot a plastic gun, and everybody at the range was sort of like not making fun of us,
Right. Yeah.
but like, oh, they got the plastic gun.
Sure.
And that's how it was for like 10 years,
Yeah.
until the law enforcement saw how
Right.
reliable they
Yeah.
were and started mass adopting them. And to this day, you can't, in my opinion, the only gun I use, see, it's the opposite. If I thought I was going to have to shoot somebody,
Yeah.
the only gun I would want to buy is a Glock.
Yeah.
Because they're that reliable.
Right. And that's where I think like the military went wrong.
Yep.
And even when these channels, they do their reliability test, you know, like the military, you know, they tested 6 Hour, you know, for the contract against Glock. And, you know, I don't know whether they shot, you know, 5,000 rounds, 10,000 rounds, whatever their round number was through it. And they're like, okay, both spit out 5 or 10,000 rounds, you know, with no malfunctions. They're both equally reliable. Well, as I said earlier, 6 Hour last year, or the year before, you know, their bullets were going off accidentally by dropping the gun.
And the 322, not just
Yeah.
the 365.
And
The 320's having a lot of problems with that.
Glock has a reliability since the 80s of not having problems like that. Matter of fact, I got a couple buddies that are gunsmiths, and they both tell me the same thing. The only time they see a Glock come in for repairs is a Glock that's modified. That some dude went and bought a Glock and then
Made it
changed out the
sexy.
barrel, you know, changed out the trigger,
Springs.
you know, the springs, you know, it's like you take your Ford Mustang and you stick a Chrysler Hemi engine in it. Is it still a Ford? Well, no, it's a Mustang body powered by Mopar, you know. So that's what's going on with these Glocks. Sometimes when you see them in the shop, or somebody's like, oh yeah, this, you know, I'm having problems with my Glock, and you look at the guy's Glock and it's like, well, what part of it is still Glock besides the frame? You know, like everything's changed out. So like, especially for my concealed carry, I'm not changing anything out other than the sights. And
Yeah.
the sights,
Or
just
garbage.
because I think you need, like, the Glock sights are adequate, but I think for a
They're
self-defense purpose, you need night sights, you know, to where you can look and see your sights at night and put it on the target. And so that's the only thing I would consider changing out on my concealed carry gun is the sights. So I changed these out for, there's a company called XS. They make a big dot sight.
I like that side too.
Right. And people will say, well, you know, they're not good for long distance shooting. I'm like, it's a subcompact pistol.
Yeah.
Its purpose is not long distance shooting.
Yeah,
Its
you
purpose
5
is
foot.
I want quick target acquisition and put rounds on target. So you put that circle, it's almost like a circle and with a lollipop. It's different than the traditional 3-dot alignment. So it's like a big circle, and then you just align the lollipop on top of it, and you put the circle on somebody. But basically, if you're within 5 yards of somebody When you put the circle on them,
it's quick.
You're hitting your target.
Because it's so big, it's easy to see with your eye fast.
Yes.
I have one on my shotgun, same reason. The XS Big Dot is a really, really nice piece of kit, and it's not super expensive. Right. It is kind of like better on a subcompact, I think, than a full-size gun.
Sure.
I would use like a traditional Trijicon or something on a full-size gun.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it on the Shadow 2 or AO1.
But on a subcompact for sure.
Absolutely.
And what's funny is you like this 43, and I started looking at this. I was going to get the 45, which is the full-size grip on a Glock 19 barrel.
Right.
So it would take the big magazines.
Yeah.
But I started looking at this gun.
Right.
And then I did a comparison on YouTube of the Glock 43X and the Glock 26.
Right.
And the Glock 26 is the same size, but a quarter to a half inch
Does
wider.
have a shorter handle.
Does have a shorter handle.
Right.
But it can take the big mags.
Right.
So for me, because I have the big mag gun 34, if I get the 26, all the mags that go in here go in that one too.
Sure. Yeah.
And then I have because I don't carry much.
Right.
So then I have a gun that I can throw in my bag or carry if I select to carry, not much.
Right.
And then I can always have it in my car. I can leave it in the nightstand. Beth can know how to shoot it. It is tiny.
Right.
You do have the small mag and then access to all the backup. So to me, I really like this, but I think I'm going to go with the 26. Right. And then if that's not small enough and I start carrying full time, because you never know how it's going. Yeah. I might be carrying full time. Right. Then you go to a whole nother gun.
But the nice thing about it is I can just stick it in my pocket and it's not heavy.
Right.
That's the advantage of it being a plastic gun. It's not heavy, so it's not like pulling my trousers down. And it easily conceals. So, I normally, I've never been one to carry.
This feels great.
But, with the change in our culture and some of the violence and crimes going on in the streets, as a man, my responsibility is to protect my family. And so, against multiple opponents, I need more than my black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Sure.
And especially armed opponents.
Sure.
And so, just in case.
This is good. This is good for your mind, man.
Yeah,
with everything that's going on now, this is a beautiful gun. I had never actually touched a 43X till you showed me this.
Oh man,
this is phenomenal.
I think
monster.
they made it maybe a year and a half ago. Yeah,
I have monster hands and I can get on that. Right, and that's so rare.
And you don't want your pinky dangling off because now you're
dangles on mine a little bit, but not bad. It's just a badass gun. I love Glocks. I'm a huge Glock fanboy. I'm a huge fanboy. Once you learn a Glock trigger too, you can shoot anything. Right. Once you a stock Glock trigger, once you get patient enough to get the feel down, and they're fast on the reset. And this is a Gen 5. Right. So the trigger's going to be pretty good, I bet. Sure. Oh yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's a nice trigger.
Yeah, it is. It really is compared to a standard Glock.
Yeah. And it's because that's the other thing is for your concealed carry, you don't want I don't know how many pounds this trigger is.
It's about 6.
Let's say it's 6-8 pounds.
Yeah, it's 5 and 8.
Where my CZ Shadow, maybe a 2-pound trigger. But sometimes when I'm at the range, if I'm not paying attention, I end up shooting 2 rounds real quick. And I didn't do it intentionally. It just I just reset.
That's how light the trigger is.
It's very light. But in a self-defense situation or a potential self-defense situation, I don't want to fire an accidental round. Right. So I want a very deliberate trigger from the factory, to where I know that I'm committed to firing this round, and I'm gonna pull. Yeah,
you don't want to do something when you're nervous.
Yeah, because when you're nervous, you're gonna make bad decisions.
Yeah, if it was a carry gun, I wouldn't touch touch the trigger. This one came with the Apex. The Apex is the most well-known aftermarket Glock trigger. Yeah. But even the difference. Even the difference between, I mean, yours is right there. Yeah, but the thing is
your gun there is your home defense gun, and you've got a little bit more latitude, where these are bullets that most likely.
And there's thousands and thousands of rounds through this trigger.
Right.
So I know it's going to be.
Yeah, you know how.
I know it works.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, I remember I had to get what's his name to look at it. He had to tune it a little bit.
Sure.
when I first got it. So there does take some know-how to them. It is interesting, but it's crazy to me. It's crazy to me how far your gun development has gone in a year and a half compared to having a little bit of time and always having guns, always shooting, but then to get like so specific and so much. We put so much time this year, and you have, in addition to me, with your son.
Yeah.
So it's not only has he shot with me once or twice a week, he's definitely shot with his son additionally every week.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of we've gotten semi addicted to it, and I miss it actually.
Yeah, it's a great sport. It's not just it's not just people preparing for armed conflict. But it's sort of like I train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu every day, not because I'm afraid that somebody's going to jump me in the street and I have to fight them, but if they do, I'm prepared. And same thing, with the handguns. Like, I enjoy going to the range with Stomp. I love going to the range with my son.
Yeah.
And I like all the guys at the range. Like we've said before, we go to Lone Star Gun Range here in town. Phenomenal range, just run by like some of the greatest people you'll ever want to meet. The owner Josh is Army Ranger, retired. The range master that runs the range, Larry, retired, Marine infantry, like these a lot of veterans.
I go to dinner with Mary couple nights every month. And she comes out to dinner with me and Beth, and it's turned into like a home sort of.
Yeah,
like the boys. I call all the boys at least once a week, and they're like 20 years old. I'm 47, but everyone's friends. I'm like a weird uncle or something.
And so there's more to it than just worrying about self-defense or worrying about conflict. It's a nice social environment. You meet a lot of nice people.
And I think as far as like you catching a whiff on these custom builds, I'm actually on the horn with the maker.
Right.
Like I'm talking to the dude in the store at Krebs who's been there for 30 years building guns next to Mark. I never talked to Mark, but there's always like. And Chase is much better about being able to not talk to him, but he knows me now, so he'll respond on Instagram. He knows who I am. Yeah. He knows I'm talking about his guns. It's a small community. Sure. The AK community is a smaller community. So you end up finding, like at the range, there's only like 3 dudes with an AK every week. There's 15 AR-15s, and like 3 of us with an AK. And it's me and Saad and one other guy, and then we all congregate toward each other, and we mock AR-15s a little bit, and like we're egocentric, we're myopic toward the brand. Like so like when Saad's like fuck shotguns, it's because he hasn't had fun with it yet. Yeah. And there's a time thing for everything. Right. He was saying fuck AKs too, and fuck semi-autos, pistols, all that shit last year. So everyone changes over time, and what you think was fun and what you thought was. I know for me, I got hooked on the AK after Red Dawn. So I saw the movie Red Dawn. Nice. I was kind of paranoid. I'm like, I'm having one of them badass AKs. That's awesome. So I went and bought a badass Russian AK. And then I started buying AR-15s. And then I'm like, this doesn't even feel like a gun. I'm used to an AK. Yeah. This feels. This doesn't even feel. Sure. There's no kick. There's no. This round's tiny. This is. Then I shoot the AK and I'm like whack, whack. Sure. And it something resonated. Something resonated. Maybe it's the bad boy image. I wear black every shirt. You never see me wear nothing but black. Maybe it's that. But yeah, the AK and Glock kind of like fit my image. Sure. It's. Yeah. I hated 1911s too. I've had $3,000 1911s I sold instantly because I couldn't take them apart easily. And I'm like, I'm not maintaining this fucking gun if I can't even take it apart. Sure. I'm gonna sell this. Right. So yeah, I get it. Right. I get what's comfortable. I get the basic maintenance of a Glock, of an AK. That is my style. Sure. It is my repertoire not to clean a gun from '94 for 3,000 rounds. I couldn't believe it. It was so fucking dirty. Sure. And it's still humming. And that gun is 84, 2004. That would be 20 years. It's 30. It's almost 40 years old. Right. It's almost 40. And you're about to put 1,500 rounds over 3 days in it. Crazy. Which is going to really be a test. Sure. I'll bring an extra couple in case something happens.
I'll bring both of them. because I can do the course either with the AK-47 or the AK-74, and I go back and forth with what I'm going to use. But you know, like for me, like, and it's just everybody's got a different personality. Like Stomp loves the 47. He's got, you got what, 5?
Yeah,
Six
I do.
AK
I got
47s,
4, 5,
and then
5 AKs. I got 8 total.
yeah,
5 that take 7.62 by 3.9.
and you know, like for me, like each one of my guns fills a specific purpose. You know, like I don't have a shotgun because I don't have a purpose for a shotgun. You know, or like I bought this Glock 43X because my summer concealed weapon. You know, the AK-74 long range shooting. So you know, I put a 6 power scope in it. Yeah, it's a Russian
years.
AK.
Well, since we started shooting, you've been wanting a Russian.
So it's shooting the 5.45 by 3.9. I got the Mac 90, the AK-47 by the Chinese. It's shooting the 7.62 by 3.9. So that's my close quarters battle rifle. I have a CZ75 PCR, which is my winter concealed carry. And then I have the CZ Shadow 2, which is my range fun. If I was going to do a competition pistol,
And if you had to go to war, you could easily go to war with it. You
that
just
would
have to
be
buy a
great
holster.
sidearm. And then my Smith & Wesson 357 is my home protection gun. You know, it's like if an intruder goes bump in the night, you know, I'm picking up the revolver.
You know what's crazy is we've had a different shift, and I have 2 this year. I got rid of the 45s. I got rid of the 22s. I got rid of the 38s. I got rid of the 40s. I sold all those guns when the COVID hit and the panic was happening and people couldn't get nothing. Yeah. I sold everything that wasn't 12 gauge, 9mm, 308, or 7.62 by 3.9. Nice. I'm trying to just collect 4 kinds and not have so many.
Yeah, so you don't have to buy as many different ammo.
I just want to concentrate on 4 kinds. That's it. So if I can only get a whole shitload of shotgun, at least I have enough for that. Sure. Because there is no 9. I have no 9. I have all my mags loaded, but that's it. That's it. Sure. So I'm not gonna shoot the 9s no more. And then the 308, I got like 1,000 rounds of that, and I think I have 4,000 rounds of 7.62 by 3.9. 2,000 is gonna be gone this month, and then 1,000 stays in the background for whatever. Never get rid of that, and then I'll start acquiring again.
Yeah, nice.
But yeah, the 7.62 ammo right now isn't insane compared to the other stuff, and that's another bargain, another reason to shoot AK. Sure. It's only $380 now, $350 instead of. I mean, the AR ammo is 4 times the amount it's supposed to be. Right. 4 to 5 times higher than it should be right now.
And I'm not paying that.
No.
It's like, no. So I'll wait for this crisis to pass before I get back into my my range shooting routine, because before this started, we was buying 1,000 rounds of 9mm ammo for like $180. Where now, if you try to buy 1,000 rounds of 9mm full metal jacket ammo, you're probably spending $600-700.
You are.
And it's like, I'm not paying that. Especially, I mean, I love to shoot at the range, but I'm not paying.
Guess who wanted to go shooting when she comes home from being deployed?
Oh, nice.
And then I was like, there's no ammo. And she's like, what do you mean? And I was like, well, we used to get 1,500 rounds for $230. Right. And now it's like $700 for 1,000. She's like, I guess we're not shooting. Right. I'm like, no, this isn't the time to figure out how to use a pistol, I guess. Gotta use the Army dime on that. Right. So man, it's we're gonna be gone next week. We're gonna actually be in a hotel. Not next week. No, it's week after next.
Yeah. So we'll do our podcast next week.
Yeah, we'll do it next week.
And then the following week we'll probably do the podcast from Arizona.
Yeah, I think might as well.
Yeah.
See if maybe Haley wants to come in or something by mistake or something. See if he wants to hang out for an hour. I seriously doubt it.
Probably not. Yeah.
No, I doubt he'll even talk to us past the class. I wouldn't expect him to.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I am too. Just
not going there to make friends. But the training.
Well, if you wanted to be my friend, I would accept it.
Well, sure.
Yeah, I'll let him hang out with me if he wants to.
It's awfully decent of you.
Yeah, sometimes guys like Haley meet guys like Trout, and then we impress them or something. I don't know.
Maybe.
We'll call it a day. You want to call it? You got anything else you want to talk about?
No.
You got any other Glocks you're buying this week?
No, I ain't buying no more guns for now.
No more guns? I have a Glock 26 on the list. That's going to be my next purchase. I switched it, though, after seeing your gun, so you influenced me. Yeah. I'm not going for the RMR or the weapons light on this one. I'm going for small.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I just wanted a pocket carry.
yeah.
And-
I think that's a good way to go.
So I mean, if you're shooting something, you know, like past 15 yards, you know, like this isn't the gun for you. Like this, you know, this is a gun for like close range shooting, you know, and if you're shooting something past 50 yards, pistol isn't what you want. You want one of these rifles, you know. And, you know, so get the gun that serves the purpose it's intended for, because it's just a tool. You know, it's like, I don't, you know, another way that me and Stomp are different. Stomp names his guns. Me, I just look at them all as tools, but I like the novelty of like who made it, where it was created. You know, so like that's why I like having the Russian AK and why I like having the Chinese AK. You know, it's like who made it, and it's also why I like the CZ brand or
Julia
Smith &
is
Wesson.
named after my German friend, exchange student in high school.
Nice.
So I know a girl named Julia, and you know I like to name them.
Yeah,
I know.
it adds personality.
What's crazy is you know the names of the guns.
Sure.
You bringing Josie? You
I've
bringing
talked to you enough. It's like, oh yeah.
You bringing Josie? You bringing Julia? Which one you bringing? So this one,
Josie, felony,
this one's felony. Yeah,
Julia,
I'm just
how about that?
really happy with this one, and I think we'll leave it at that. And I think being patient sometimes works out.
Sure.
And some people don't like to wait a year, and I think I think it's absolutely necessary to get what you want sometimes. And how about you all Stomp Strong? We'll see you next week, and have a great week.
All right. Peace out.